Hi, everyone, and welcome to this Vikings Now edition, another lost edition of Vikings Now. After the Vikings looked lost in a 27-19 defeat to the Baltimore Ravens on their home turf, where the Vikings have won only one game this year out of 4 at US Bank Stadium.
Yeah.
It used to be a house of horrors for opponents. Now it's for the home team. You want to give an opening thought on what we witnessed today, or would you rather be questioned about this?
A tough day at the office for the entire offense. Looked good after that first drive defensively, offensively, forced the Ravens to punt. Then they went down and scored a touchdown. You're thinking like, all right, this team has a little bit of an identity. They're finding their mojo, but they just couldn't piece good drives together after that until the fourth quarter. Right. A lot of penalties, a lot of mistakes, pre-snap penalties, things like that. A lot of woulda, coulda, shouldas. A lot of tip balls at the line of scrimmage where if they weren't tipped, there were guys wide open behind them. It's just a very unfortunate day for the offense. I think the defense played well.
So I don't know if you can answer this, the tip balls. I mean, I don't know if there's an answer of what's going on here. If, he's not seeing these arms coming his way, or if his angle is too low that he's throwing these passes. It's just a rhetorical question. I mean, we'd have to obviously get to.
It could be a multitude of things. I mean, his arm angle, him just not being tall enough, the offensive line not doing their job and hitting the defensive lineman in their stomach when they're taught, like when they jump, you're supposed to chop them down to make sure that they don't, get the hands in the passing lane. I mean, there's a bunch, but I think if you go back and watch the replays, a majority of those tip balls, they're on long developing routes, and the guys were open behind him, and he was on target. The ball just got hit. So, I mean, there's a lot that goes into that other than just J.J. McCarthy's fault.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not saying it's his fault. I'm just seeing how they can help him more to get this completions, because there have been shorter quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's that
Smooth
at all.
pocket, maybe. I don't know. I gotta look at the film before, like Kevin O'Connell would say, before I
Correct.
make
We've got to look at the film. We'll give you answers when we look at the film. Pierre, you looked at the film.
If you want to call it that, I guess, sure. Do you want a this game perspective, or do you want a bird's eye perspective?
Well, let's do both, but let's start with this game. Let's drill down on why this team basically beat themselves again this week.
Yeah, I mean, you just said it right there. Beat themselves, penalties, turnovers. This was a game that could have been won. This was a game that was in their hands. It started out pretty well. They had a pretty good first half. They limited Baltimore to just field goals in the first half. The red zone defense looked pretty good. But, the penalties absolutely set you back. They're just killer penalties that make your life all the more difficult. And there are times where I say to myself, okay, J.J. McCarthy, he looks pretty darn good. And then there were times today, this has been the J.J. McCarthy experience so far. It's been up and down. This is now, 4 complete games that he's played in the league. So I would love to, I'm sure he wouldn't love it if I asked him this question if he was sitting right here, but I would love to know how tall J.J. McCarthy thinks Justin Jefferson is, because he continues to sail balls over the head of Justin Jefferson. I don't know. Justin Jefferson is about as athletic as it gets, but I don't know how high he can really jump. But I just think that this team, the first half was okay. Like I said, the second half, they just fell flat. And like you said, Jim, off the top, it's a disappointing effort at home when you have a winnable game on your home field and you just can't find a way to really match the physicality of the opposing team. Baltimore finished running the ball the way we, with the number of yards we probably all thought they would have going into this game, 152 yards, I believe it was, running the football. That's what they do best. But I just think that the second half, this team fell flat and don't really have a real explanation as to why. I didn't love that play call on a 3rd and short. I know the Vikings are a terrible 3rd and short team.
I want to drill down on that too. But
that third and one play.
And then we're going back to third downs.
The 3rd and 1 play where J.J. McCarthy, he's one deep. Justin Jefferson trips on the route. Ball gets intercepted. But the Vikings were running the football pretty good today.
They were running the ball great.
Yeah, so I don't really understand that play call in that moment. That kind of takes a little bit of the wind out of your sails. So the play calling in that situation specifically left me a little bit baffled. I don't know why you just don't try to run the football. You're in positive territory. Even if you don't get it, you have an opportunity to run it again. So, that's just something Kevin O'Connell, I think, will have to address as to why this team is so poor on third and shorts.
Third downs, 3 of 14, the Vikings were. So you drilled down, that's my favorite term this week, on that one scenario. But when you have a young quarterback that's trying to figure this out, why not run the ball more? Why are you calling these elaborate plays where he has to make a play? It's a 3rd and 1. It should be very simple for him. Take the snap, turn around, give it to running back A or running back B, and let the offensive line do what they do.
And like you said earlier this season, this is one of the reasons why Jordan Mason was brought into Minnesota.
Right.
A bruising type back who can absolutely get if Pete was here, he would joke about, and he'd do that joke that he's told about 50,000 times now about a running back.
Leroy Horde.
If you need me to get 5 yards, I can get you 3 yards. If you need me to get 1 yard, I can get you 3 yards. That's the time. I mean, Jordan Mason, I think, is a little more talented than that, but he is certainly capable of getting you a yard on 3rd and 1, please.
Do you feel that the play calling is not suited for a young quarterback? He doesn't seem to be helping McCarthy, especially when he gets jittery as the game goes on and he's starting to run around back there. And, I mean, the running game was fine today. They ran the ball 13 times. For averaged over 5 yards per run.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to take out McCarthy's out of there because he has scrambled 5 for 48. He was your top rusher today.
I mean, 26 of that came in the fourth quarter on one run, long run.
Right, when you're scrambling for your life.
I will say they were doing a good job running the ball, but then they also had a ton of pre-snap penalties. Like a lot of, how many false starts? 7 false starts, something
8,
like that?
I think.
No.
So you think about that. You lose 5 yards on those false starts. It's kind of hard to run the ball when you get behind the chains. And that's the one thing about this offense. Like they can't, I won't say they can't succeed, but it's harder to succeed when you're constantly playing behind the chains and 2nd and long and 3rd and long. Like those 5-yard runs only do so well when it's 3rd and 6 and 3rd and 7 and things like that. But I do think that Kevin O'Connell gets pass happy. I think that's been the knock on him as a play caller / head coach here in Minnesota since he's been here. Like before it was, well, he didn't have a running back, that he could rely on after Dalvin Cook. Well, then it was he didn't have an offensive line. Now you have an offensive line. Now you have 2 capable backs, and yet you're still pass happy with the young quarterback. I think that you do want to see him lean on their run game a little bit more. That's why I think they were so successful in Detroit, because the ball wasn't in J.J. McCarthy's hands the whole game. They did lean on their run game with Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones. And of those 3rd and 1s, I know the rule of thumb growing up when I played football, 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1 are your shot plays, especially when you're in 4-down territory.
Especially 2nd and 1.
Because you know that you're probably going to be able to pick it up that next play. They said that on that Justin Jefferson play where J.J. McCarthy threw it up, Justin Jefferson tripped, Marlon Humphreys picked it off. You think if that ball hit, like Kevin O'Connell said, if the ball hits the earth, we're going for it on 4th down. You probably get it on 4th down.
I know, but again, you're in a situation with a young quarterback.
Yeah.
And let's get things going his way, because even before that play, things were starting to unravel offensively. And you didn't need, a 3rd and 1 when you go for those deep plays, it seems to me, that's when you're looking to put the knife in somebody, right? That's when you go for the dagger, right? This is a game where you need to keep your offense on the field longer. You don't want your defense wore out, because that's what happened the second half. They just got tired because they were out there all day trying to stop Jackson and Henry. Okay? You get tired. And then they eventually wear down. They still did a great job all day considering all the time that they spent on the field. But you'd think a 3rd and 1 situation like that, it's like, let's just build some confidence in everybody. Let's get the line rolling. Let's get everybody going. Let's get Baltimore depressed. Just another 1st down. We'll just keep marching the ball. Instead, you're taking risks with the young quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, well, one could argue that when he didn't call chunk plays or shot plays or explosive type plays, and they did call the short play on 3rd and 2, intermediate routes and things like that, the ball got knocked down. So it's like it's like a double-edged sword.
That's
like,
throwing the ball. I
Yeah.
want him to run the ball, please.
I think everybody wants them to run the ball in hindsight, when you go back and look at the game. But
No, I called 3rd and 1, run the ball right there. That wasn't hindsight that time, but
Yeah,
I know what you're saying.
yeah,
I know what you're saying.
I mean, I think, I don't think Kevin O'Connell did a great job setting this team up for success. You talk about the drive right before halftime where they go out there, they go 3 and out. You go, 2 pass plays, 1 run play, and then you get Baltimore the ball back. Then they go down and get a field goal. Then you talk about coming out of halftime, J.J. McCarthy throws an interception, gives up a field goal. Then Miles Price fumbles the ball the very next drive, and they get a touchdown. Like that is that's a 13-point swing right there.
Absolutely.
So you talk about the defense and, being tired. I think it was more so like they were just put in some bad situations, and the Vikings had to play from behind and throw the ball a ton, which is not a way you're going to be successful with a young quarterback right now. I feel like you gotta help him out, and that's why they put all these pieces around him to help him out, to make sure he didn't have to do too much. But I think Kevin O'Connell had to rely on J.J. McCarthy too much because of his play calling and somewhat towards the end of that second half.
Right, and I heard a stat in the middle of the game, like 80% of Baltimore's snaps were in Vikings territory for the offense because of the turnover. So, I mean, that's how difficult the defense had to deal with this stuff. So, I don't know. Why wasn't what they did a week ago the plan? Because the first scripted plays, right down the field, 7 plays, 86 yards, 7-0. Perfect. Let's keep it going. Pierre, why can't they go farther than the scripted plays?
Well, I think you have to give some credit to Baltimore here because they really did a phenomenal job today on Justin Jefferson. They really took away the number 1 option, number 1 read today for J.J. McCarthy, and that certainly made things more difficult. Guys like Jalen Naylor, who had a really nice day today, he was a beneficiary of that. But, no disrespect to Jalen Naylor. He's not Justin Jefferson, and you need Justin Jefferson to have these type games. He doesn't have to go for 100 every game, but he's got to be involved in a way that really gets that defense to make you think about, hey, we really have to keep our eye on it. But at that point, really, up until you get to the end of the third quarter, Justin Jefferson was pretty much locked up the entire game. That's definitely a problem.
He was targeted 12 times, 4 catches, and 2 interceptions. Than balls that were directed towards him.
Like I said, credit to Baltimore on the job that they did. They had a great game plan to try to slow him down and try to take him out of the equation. They were able to do just that. I think Ahmad brings up a great point that it's harder to run the ball when you're behind the sticks on penalties. And
absolutely.
And on top of it, too, when you're trailing in the game, especially in the fourth quarter, you're probably going to lean away from the run a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, when you look at things, Jordan Mason averaged over 6 yards a carry. Aaron Jones was averaging over 5 yards a carry.
Yeah.
The Vikings defense, to their credit, limited Derrick Henry, although 20 carries of Derrick Henry, you're eventually going to get a little bit tired. But Derrick Henry was held to under 4 yards a carry today. I would not have guessed that would have been the result, given how talented he is and how much Baltimore really tries to get him involved and really tries to beat you down with Derrick Henry's physicality. So I thought the Vikings did a great job against him today. But I think it starts with your playmakers.
Okay. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
Just your playmakers like Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. Your playmakers weren't in positions to make plays today. And that, sometimes it's as simple as that. And that's really what it came down to. Again, credit Baltimore's defense. I thought we were just talking about this last week, how Baltimore's defense got off to a wretched start to the season. Similar script to last year. Terrible defensively in the first half of the season. Then last year, they slowly started to turn around. They were one of the top defenses from the second half on last year. Similar script this year where they were a terrible defense for the first 6 weeks or so, and now they've started to turn it around again, holding Minnesota to just 19 points, 2 turnovers on defense.
Okay, so here's the drive that I think really flipped the game. It was 10-9 coming out of the half. You get the ball. First play, hand it off, 17-yard gain, Aaron Jones. Mm-hmm. Second play, 5-yard gain.
So 2nd and 5.
Yep, 2nd and 5. Then you complete a 4-yard pass, easy pass to Addison.
3rd and 1.
So you're sitting at 3rd and 1, and that's when you went for the home run ball. Instead of, you already had 2 successful running plays of the first 3 plays. So the line is obviously being able to control the line of scrimmage.
In a rhythm.
Right. And I know he'd say he'd go for it on 4th down, but just continue what you got going here. Mm-hmm. And instead, you just let it go. And if you had, Darnold from last year or someone that's experienced in that situation. I'm not going down that rabbit hole. We don't have to talk about the Seattle game right now. But, you would think, let's just keep this going. Let's settle them down. Let's get this going. And let's put together a nice drive like we did to start the game.
Yeah, I mean, that was a killer. I mean, as a former football player, I understand the shot, like that, the down and distance, being in the Ravens territory, like that is a time where you take your shot. But I can also understand your argument where you're like, look, just pick up a first down, keep this drive going, and you live to fight another day. I think if you looked at every other drive after that in the second half, it seemed like every single drive they had a false start and a 5-yard penalty.
Yes.
So it's like they gained a little bit of confidence and momentum, and then, here's a 5-yard penalty, let's go back. So it's really hard to operate an offense when you're playing behind the chains and you're having constant mistakes. I think, but Kevin O'Connell said it, like, this is a young quarterback in his 4th full game in the National Football League. And J.J. McCarthy said it after the game. You learn, like, your best learning tools are from mistakes and from losses. And I think, as a young quarterback, maybe he won't take as many chances and give Justin Jefferson those one-on-one balls in third down situations, third and short. And maybe he'll say, let me just use my legs. Let me go get this first down, and we'll keep the drive alive. We'll take our shot on second down. But you also want to see that Justin Jefferson be a little bit stronger, fight through some of those contested catches, stay on his feet. Like, you get paid a lot of money to go make big-time catches, and he usually does 99% of the time. This was just that 1% today where he didn't have a phenomenal game, and credit goes to the Ravens secondary. Kevin O'Connell said they had a pretty good secondary coming into this game.
I just want to add on to one thing that Ahmad said earlier when he was talking about the Vikings offensive line. I know some people out there might be thinking, well, you're not a fully healthy offensive line because you don't have Ryan Kelly at center. I just want to remind everybody out there, last week against Detroit, the highest graded offensive lineman for Minnesota in that game was Blake Brandel at center. He was the highest graded offensive lineman in that game against Detroit. So tacking onto Ahmad's point really about their offensive line being as good as they've had in recent number of years, it kind of contradicts the logic of why you would not continue to run the football on top of that as well. So before everybody says, well, the Vikings offensive line isn't fully healthy, well, that's true. But at the same time, too, Blake Brandel is holding his own at center.
And they're good enough. 4 out of 5 starters out there.
Yes,
you should be able to
go
behind O'Neal, go behind Darisaw, go get you 1 yard. So I do agree. The Vikings do need to be more balanced. That's something that we've always criticized Kevin O'Connell about his entire tenure here in Minnesota, is he becomes way too pass happy. It happened too much with Kirk Cousins, where he was leading the league in quarterback hits because he was dropping back all the time. Like, Kevin O'Connell's offense, it's very flashy. There's a lot of deep developing routes, like a lot of crossers, a lot of things like that, and it takes time to get guys open. And it's hard to just say, well, we're going to change up this whole playbook and go quick game and short game. Like, you got to be able to go deep in order to back the safeties off and then hit your intermediate stuff. But I do think he has to be better as a play caller in certain situations, and he has to be more reliant on the run game.
Especially with the personnel you have, right? He tried to make Dobbs into Cousins 2.0, and whoever he put in, it was always the same offense. No matter which quarterback it was, it didn't seem like they went with a lot of whatever this person's capable of doing. He's got his script, and it seems like that's the script we're going with.
Yeah,
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, I had a player in the locker room tell me after the Dobbs game, and when he looked atrocious, was it against the Bears where he had
I can't remember which
50,
one, but
60 yards.
I know what you're talking about.
It was after the Atlanta game.
It was the Bears game, Monday night game.
Monday night game. And I went up to a player and Dobbs himself, and I was just like, is it Dobbs or is it the play caller? And they're like, we're not doing anything to help Dobbs and use his skill set. Like, we're trying to force Dobbs to be something he's not. And I asked Dobbs after the season, I'm like, do you think that one game where, it was the ending for you, like, do you think there could have been something else to help you? He was like, yeah. He was like, he didn't go too deep into it talking about Kevin O'Connell, but he was like, I do think that there could have been some different calls to kind of help us out and get us in different situations. And I think that's been the one knock on KO. Like, instead of looking at his offense and being like, you know what, these are our players. This is how we're going to get them the ball. Like, we're going to have a variety of ways. He's like, this is my offense. This is what we're going to do. These are the plays that are going to work. They're going to be successful. And I think sometimes as a play caller, you have to be a little bit more willing to adapt to your personnel rather than sticking to your bread and butter and your set playbook.
And we still haven't brought up the one play that made me yell out 4-letter words repeatedly as I was watching this football game.
Skull?
No, it was the trick play. Yeah, that one. It was the trick play. Send it over to Jefferson. Jefferson looks like he's going to run out in the flat, then pulls up and throws it back across the field to J.J. McCarthy. Why in the world would you leave your quarterback who you just got back from injury open like that? Why would you leave him open to possibly get hurt, get hit hard? Why? I don't understand. That was on a 3rd and 12, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was, yeah.
Why?
11 yards.
Why? What?
That's right.
Why in the world would you open up the possibility to give a defender a free shot on your quarterback like that?
First quarter, too.
That play, yeah, first quarter, too. That play made absolute no sense to me. I don't even understand why on earth you would put J.J. McCarthy in a position like that. That to me, is like, well, you want to talk about the play calling? We want to start right there. Right there. That play right there left me scratching my head. I said, I don't understand that logic whatsoever. You cannot leave it open for your quarterback to take a shot from a defense like that. Like I said, you just got him back from injury.
Right.
He's we're one hit away of the Max Brosmer experiment. You know? Why on earth? I would love to know the answer to that question. Why on earth would you leave your quarterback open to taking a shot like that?
Can't really defend that one. I mean, look, especially 3rd and long, you don't pick. I can understand it. I will say, you watch that replay, every single offensive lineman missed their block on that play. No one got a block on that play. They all whiffed, all 4 of them that were over there. Had they all picked up a block, J.J. McCarthy probably gets that first down. He gets up the sideline, and he gets out of bounds before even being touched. But if you go back and watch that replay, every single offensive lineman whiffed. I'm like, look, it is hard to block a smaller guy, a quicker guy in space. I will say that. But how they all whiffed is just out of this world. But that being said, I agree with Pierre. It's early in the game. You just got this guy back off a 6-week, recovery process.
Is it worth the risk?
Especially for a play early in the game. And I think that just goes back to sometimes Kevin O'Connell is just a little too cute. Like let's just go play football. Draw up a play for Justin Jefferson or Jordan Addison, throw it to them on 3rd and 12 or whatever, but keep harm's way out of J.J. McCarthy's path. And so I agree with Coach. I agree with
Coach. He agrees with Coach Pierre over
Noujaim
here. Yeah.
On our podcast. Yeah, Coach Noujaim.
Yeah,
right
they'll
here.
be hiring me in no time, I'm sure.
I do agree with him that I do think that that play calling was a little questionable, but had he gotten the first down, nobody would have said anything except for Pierre, probably.
I still don't love leaving your quarterback open to get a hit like that.
All right, so how on your home field do you pick up 8 false starts?
That's
And nobody had an answer. We've listened to all the sound from the locker room, and they just said, well, it's on me. McCarthy said, and O'Connell said it's on me. And, and O'Neill said, yeah, that's on us. But nobody said what it was that caused them.
The one thing that I noticed, being a former football player, sometimes when you see that quarterback get under center, you're always told, like as an offensive lineman or as a wide receiver out on the edge, you're looking in and you're looking for movement. And so when you see your quarterback under center and then he goes like this all of a sudden, or he makes a quick move, the first thing you're thinking, oh, this is a play. Like, I'm going. So I do think that maybe J.J. McCarthy needs to be a little bit better in his checks or his cans or something at the last second. Like, maybe before you get down and put your hands under center, you're surveying the area. And before you get down, it's like, all right, now we're can. But instead of you're getting under here, said, oh, wait, can. It's like, all right, well, you just said, and you got your hands under center, then you move. So I'm taught to move based on your reactions and stuff like that. So that's the first thing I said in the press box when I'm watching that. I'm like, JJ has to be a little bit better in his cans and recognizing his cans or getting out of a play before he puts his hand under center, because you're putting your tackles and your guys who really can't hear you, they're watching the ball or they're watching your quarterback movement. You're putting them in a very vulnerable spot. So I know you can look at Darisaw, you can look at the tight ends, you can look at Brian O'Neill and point the finger and be like, you guys got to do better. But also JJ needs to do a little bit better and getting to his second play if he's canceling the first play before he puts his hand under center, because in a loud environment like US Bank Stadium is, it's very difficult, for a tackle to hear a quarterback, and then, they're just taught to go off movement. So I will come to the defense of the guys who had those false start penalties, because if you look, JJ was pretty much ready to roll, hands under center, about to say height, and then he canned to play. And so, look, you see this, you're like, or you see shoulder pads move, you're like,
right.
Oh, crap.
Because you're not turning your head, looking back there, watching everything.
So I think that's on the offense, and I don't think anybody will point the finger at J.J. McCarthy after the game and throw him under the bus. But I'm pretty sure Kevin O'Connell will tell him, like, hey, before you put your hands under the center next week, you need to stand up. You need to look at this, the scene. You need to identify the mic. And before you put your hands under center, you need to know if you're going to can a play. And I think that's something they'll probably go over in film study tomorrow.
That sounds like a great explanation. I mean, compared to what else it could be, right? Because to have that many happen, there has to be a main flaw that's tripping everybody up. Because even Justin Jefferson jumped.
Yeah. Because you're not listening to a snap count when your wide receiver split out that wide. You're always told you're looking at the ball or you're looking at your quarterback's movement.
Right.
So when you see the ball or your quarterback move, you move. Like that's what our offensive line coach used to say in high school. Ball move, you move. Now in these cases the ball didn't move, but the quarterback was moving. And so that's sometimes,
and a lot of times you're going off that quarterback because you build a rapport with the guy. You know his tendencies and what's going on. And this is obviously something that may have
quarterback.
Popped up.
Young, inexperienced quarterback going through some growing pains. I think that's what you chalk it up to, but no one's going to say that after the game. Kevin O'Connell won't say that. Brian O'Neill won't say that.
That makes sense.
But I think Kevin O'Connell will be the first to tell JJ in the post-game meeting, like, you got to get a little quicker at your cans or something at the line of scrimmage because you can't get under center and then come back up and can at the last minute.
All right. You said you're going to give us a bird's eye view off the top instead of a drill-down moment.
There's that phrase again. That
Drill
you
it
love.
down,
Yeah,
baby.
yeah,
That's what we do here on the Vikings Now podcast.
Immediately after the game, the first thought that came into my head was your playoff chances are over. Then I took a step back for a quick moment off the ledge, and I thought to myself, well, technically it's not over. Even though this was, when the schedule came out, we all looked at this four-game stretch as being the stretch where you needed to come out at worst 2-2. You came out 1-3. I still think that the Vikings playoff chances took a major blow today. However, with Detroit and Chicago winning today, Green Bay plays tomorrow, you are now a full 2 games out of just third place in the NFC North. The only thing that you have on your side at this moment, you're 2-0 in the division, and you have 4 divisional games left. That is an opportunity for you to crawl back into this race and possibly snag a wild card spot. I'm not as optimistic about Minnesota's chances to win the division. I think they're probably in too big of a hole right now, although that could change. My mind could change on that if Green Bay falls to Philadelphia tomorrow. They've already defeated Chicago once. They've defeated Detroit once.
Right.
They got to play Green Bay twice. Chicago's going to be here in town next week. So that's really the only saving grace right now for Minnesota is the fact that they have 4 divisional games left. And if they can, at worst, go 3-1 in those remaining 4 games, if not possibly 4-0, you still have a chance here. You still have a chance. But I think Minnesota's playoff chances took a major blow with this loss today.
Yeah, I'll agree. But as I look at the rest of the schedule, I still think it's some winnable games. If they play a clean game of football offensively, because I feel like this defense, when Andrew Van Ginkel's out there and hopefully Jonathan Grenard is healthy, he got up and walked off the field, had that shoulder injury. You don't know what his status is going to be, but hopefully he can get back out there. But I feel like this defense can hold their own against all these remaining teams, the Bears, the Packers, the Seahawks, maybe not the Seahawks, but the Commanders, the Cowboys, the Giants.
What made the Seahawks so good this year?
Their offense is fire right now. But
who's their quarterback again? Okay.
We'll get there another day. But I still think their defense can hold their own versus everybody on their remaining schedule right now. And I just think if their offense can just be above average in all of these games, you're talking about a team that could still go on and win possibly 9 or 10 games. Like, that's still a chance. Like, if they win out, that's 12 games, but I don't think they're going to win out. But I still think they have a chance to get to 9 or 10 wins on the season. And if you can get to 9 to 10 wins, I think that's that sweet spot for a playoff spot. Now, is it an uphill battle? Absolutely. And it's a lot of baggage on that truck trying to go uphill right now. But I still think it's obtainable. But the offense is going to have to grow up, and they're going to have to grow up fast.
10 games will very likely get you in. 9, you're leaving yourself open for some trouble. But I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier, Jim. If you don't win your home games, what does it matter? At this point, what does it matter? I mean, you have another home game next week against Chicago. You're going to have to start taking advantage of some of these home games. That game against Seattle is in Seattle. Yep. The game against Dallas, even though Dallas's defense is a sieve right now, it is absolutely awful. Dallas can put up points with anybody in the league. Anybody. And that game is in Dallas. It's a primetime game as of right now in Dallas. So, I mean, you are going to have to start winning these home games. So this is really inexcusable for you to only have 1 win at home all season long. It's really inexcusable. It truly is. But it goes back to exactly what Ahmad just said in terms of the offense, not just being average. They were below average today. Last week, saw a little bit more balance and looked a little bit better, but the inconsistency on offense I understand J.J. McCarthy has been hurt for half the season. That adds to it. But the inconsistency on offense this season has really hurt the Vikings. I think the Vikings defense has done their job for the majority of the season.
Outside of the Chargers game.
Correct. But it's exactly like Ahmad said it. The inconsistency on offense is what has doomed this team so far this season. Hopefully it gets better with a little more reps and games for J.J. McCarthy, but there are some tough games ahead for this team. I mean, listen, the Bears game next week is no gimme. How many times have we seen the Bears come into this building and win in this building?
Numerous, especially when big things are on the table.
Correct. I mean, if Minnesota loses next week to Chicago, I think you can put them in a casket. I think it's done.
I can't argue that.
It's a must-win game next week.
Every game is a must-win game from here on out, honestly. But yeah, next week definitely at home. I mean, you're 1-3 at home right now. Your only victory has come against the Cincinnati Bengals, who are god-awful this season. I mean, so, like, you got to give your fan base, you got to give them something to grow for. And, I mean, look, the mood leaving U.S. Bank Stadium today was not good. And a lot of people were saying, I don't care about the rest of the season. I just want to see J.J. McCarthy develop. Please give us something to bank on heading into next year. Like, and if J.J. can just improve this season, all right, cool. We're good heading into next year. So it's like the mood is down. People are not believing as much as they did before the season starts. But I'm going to go on a whim and say, look, he has to improve, and he has to improve faster. I just want to see him improve and them do a little – like, they have a roster built to go win. Maybe not a Super Bowl right now, but like we said last week, they have a roster that could get them a win in a playoff game if they get there. We just need to see J.J. McCarthy grow up and grow up a lot faster.
Is the Seattle game in 2 weeks? Is that the one after the Bears game?
Yeah, no, that's after.
Nope.
So they go to Green Bay.
They go to Green Bay.
They go to so Chicago home, Green Bay, and then Seattle.
Back-to-back road games.
So those two ones. But circling back to the false starts, there is a line coming out of the locker room now
about
that
the
says
Ravens.
Ravens may have been chirping a little much, the defensive linemen, simulating the snap, the call.
We had a little bit of controversy about that last week, too, with New England in terms of it was New England and Atlanta. There was some subtle accusations. Raheem Morris saying that he thought some of the New England defenders were clapping their hands trying to get their offensive line to jump. Mike Vrabel defended his guys, said there was nothing of the sort. I looked at the tape. I didn't really see anything from that New England-Atlanta game. I didn't see anything shady going on in that game, but that's...
There are subtle things that defenses are taught to do.
Oh, of course.
And it's like with seconds winding down, you can tell your guy, like a linebacker can signal, shift. Like, so it's like you're telling your defensive line, like, hey, move over here. And
right,
it's like
I'm just running my side of the ball.
You're doing that with 2 seconds left. And it's like a very quick movement like that with 2 seconds to go before a ball snap can get your offensive line to jump. Now, the referees are supposed to, kind of hone in on the clapping and things like that. But there are subtle things that the offense does to draw the defense offside, and there are things the defense is taught to do to draw the offense to a false start.
Well, the quote here on ESPN.com from Aaron Jones is, sometimes it's hard to hear. They're making move calls up front, so sometimes it sounds like it could be JJ saying that. Set hot when they're making their move calls, and you see them stem, so you're trying to get a jump as well.
But just like, the defense can do that, though. They're taught to do that, just like the offense is taught to have a fast motion right before the snap of the ball. Like, it's to each his own. Like, both sides of the ball can do things like that.
But I just wanted to put that out there because we were kind of coming down hard on JJ for
sure,
for the hand motions and moving out of set position. So this could be part of it too. But it's a young quarterback. He may have been making moves as well. And maybe this is the team deflecting for the quarterback.
We've seen the Vikings do this very thing defensively, like where you'll see a defensive lineman shift with 2 seconds left on the play clock, like right before the offensive ball is snapped. Like, so.
Oh yeah, they're bailing guys left and right, or coming right up to the line.
I have to imagine that's hard. I have to imagine that's hard to officiate as well.
Right. How do you call that? How do you just tell a team you can't do things at the line?
It's easier
that's
at home
why you get away.
when we can pause it, slow-mo it, rewind it, fast forward. But in the game, like, look, both sides have their little tricks that they do to get the other team to jump. And so I don't think that you can blame a game won or lost on that solely. There's a lot that goes into a win.
No, I just didn't want to make sure that everybody thinks that watches this. We're totally ripping JJ for his snap counts and everything.
Yeah,
but this kind of shows what goes on. I mean, obviously you got to prepare for it. You have to know a team's history, what they've done in other games. So I've seen
a team before where they would say, the quarterback would say said hut, and then you would see every offensive lineman go from here like hut and then go down.
It's like
these things are taught from high school all the way up to the pros. So it's like, look, that's why you have silent counts. That's why you go through practice and rep all these things. So they'll just have to be better. They'll have to clean up their efficiency offensively, especially if they want to make a playoff run, which is still obtainable right now, I believe.
All right. So as we wrap this up, still attainable is your opinion right now?
Yeah, it's not over.
Pierre, this the one, the Bears game, and then next week you'll be in here renting a hearse?
Attainable, yeah. Well, yes. To answer that question, yes. Attainable, yes. I don't feel great about it right now, but yes, it is attainable.
Yeah, it's a Jekyll and Hyde team.
They'll be fine if they get the win next week. I mean, because look, the Bears have not looked great. Like they've come from behind and beat some bad football
If Jackson
teams.
Dart didn't go down in that game,
they probably lose to the
lost.
Giants. If the Cincinnati Bengals can make a tackle, they probably lose the week before.
That's
you know
right.
what I'm saying? So
That's
this is a team. They're playing a better defense than what they faced in week 1, I believe, if Jonathan Grenard is healthy. And so that being said, Caleb Williams hasn't had a ton of success versus Brian Flores in his young NFL career. Ben Johnson has as a play caller, but not necessarily with this team. So I still think that's a winnable game if the Vikings offense shows up. But that's been the storyline for this team every game this season. What team are you going to get offensively? Because you know what you're getting when your defense is healthy. What are you going to get from your offensive 11 guys? If they can just get some consistency there, things are a lot better for this team.
All right. As always, we love reading your comments. Go ahead, drop them down there, and we will talk to you next week after the Bears. That'll do it for us and Vikings Now.